Planning and cooking your own meals at home weekly can be daunting, and there are many ways to organize this. The trick is keeping to the plan. So I want to show you how I plan my weekly meals and try not to overthink it. Hi, Lindy here, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you some vegetable and meat dishes which I make on a regular basis. These dishes are interchangeable and can be enjoyed through the week, making your cooking and eating plan easy. All the dishes are easily frozen and refrigerated. Preparing these meals in advance and cooking in bulk makes it time and cost efficient. And of course, you know what's in your food. I can't tell you what to eat, but I can give you some suggestions as to how to shop, prep, and cook your meals to make them a little more organized and less stressful. So here are 3 questions we need to think about before we start planning our meals for the week. What do we enjoy eating? And can we cook what we enjoy eating? That's not a difficult question. You can use many recipes that are available, YouTube channels. So food you eat out, you can easily copy. The second question is, what is your budget? Into that question, you can ask yourself, are you prepared to give up your takeaways and your eating out in order to have more money for your grocery shopping list? Now, we all know that eating out and takeaways are more expensive than eating at home. I'm not suggesting don't eat out, but if you eat out or have takeaways less, you will definitely see a saving at the end of the month. And the third question is, how much time are you prepared to allocate to shopping, prepping, and cooking your food each week? At this point, let's talk a little bit about efficient grocery shopping. So here's some points to remember that I always keep in mind. The first is, do not shop hungry. This will tempt you to buy things which are not on your list, which are quick to eat, because right then you're needing something. So don't shop hungry. The second point is, be sure to write a grocery list. This might sound like common knowledge, but you go into the shop not having everything written down. Not only will you forget things, you'll probably buy things you don't need. And another idea is to make sure you write your list of groceries in the aisles that you're walking through, because every time you have to go back to another aisle, it's a waste of time. Be realistic about how much time you need to shop, prep, and cook, because if you give yourself too little time, it becomes very stressful. And the fourth point is, try to remember the prices or in the price range of different items so that when you see a special, you know if it is good value. Cooking more than one meal at a time is time efficient, and if you buy your food in bulk, it's also cost efficient. Then what you can do is you can refrigerate it or freeze it, or get yourself into a habit of cooking every 2 to 3 days, and then the food will build up over time in the fridge and the freezer, and you'll be able to have days off and quick easy meals. Most food can be frozen. Food high in water or creamy sauces don't freeze as well. But the best way to work this out is to try it. Freeze a dish, and if it doesn't work, you know for next time not to freeze that dish. It's difficult to compare your frozen foods with commercially frozen ready-made meals because they have flash freezers, and also they use certain preservatives or additives to make sure that they keep the color and texture from changing. Once food is fully cooked, it should last up to about 5 days refrigerated. If you see you're not going to be using that food, rather freeze it than leave it to go to waste. Waste is not just money and food, it's also your precious time that you've put into preparing it. I tend to buy fresh produce and my meats, chicken and fish, and within 3 days I like to cook it. If I don't, I will freeze it. Let's talk about a balanced diet. A balanced diet, you'd have a plate of food with about 50% vegetables or salad, 25% protein and 25% grain. Now this is also going to be dependent on your weight and your energy level. When it comes to protein, if you're wanting to lose weight, you increase your protein. And if you're wanting to gain muscle, you increase it further. So these are ratios which you'll need to look up and are dependent on your weight. Here are the ingredients we will be using for this week's meal planner. Let's start with the vegetables, the 50% of our plate. So I enjoy a salad every day, and I'm going to link my salad video to show you how I prepare the vegetables in advance, and then assembling them takes minutes. You can then add protein on the side when I've got my chicken breasts grilled, or the baby meatballs I'm going to make, or you can add tuna and eggs onto the salad as a complete meal. I want to start by showing you a delicious vegetable dish I love to make, ratatouille. Now you've probably made it yourself. What I love about it is it's tasty, colorful and nutritious. And you can serve it on its own with a dollop of sour cream and some grains on the side, or you can again use some of the mince or the chicken breasts or fish, and it makes a delicious meal. There are a number of ways that you can prepare. Boil it, you can fry it. I like to do it in the oven. So what I do is I keep the skins on because, as we know, most of the nutrition is just under the skin, and I like the colors of the purples and the greens and the different peppers, and I leave them in the oven for about 40 minutes and get them nice and roasted and brown, and I combine them together in tomatoes and herbs with garlic in a pan, and it can be frozen or refrigerated. So here we have all our lovely vegetables. So we have the peppers. Don't worry if they're not all the same size. We're going to cut them a little bit smaller, but sometimes with different sizes it gives different texture and it's more interesting. We've got a tin of plum tomatoes, and then we've got some red and white onions, garlic, courgettes and aubergines. I've got this parchment paper on these baking trays. I'm not sure if I'm going to use them all, but I've got them ready in case. Roughly cut the peppers into bite-sized pieces. Place them in a large bowl. Mix together with olive oil, dried oregano and salt, and place in a single layer on the parchment paper covered baking trays. Slice the courgettes into pieces. Into a bowl and season as you did. I'm also roasting some overripe tomatoes with their skins on. And lastly, let's cut up the aubergine, top and tail. I cut them in half and then into half, so we've got a stable place to cut them on. Into our bowl with olive oil and spices. Put all the trays of vegetables into an oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And then we're going to just put these sliced onions, roughly sliced, into a pot. Brown the onions and add the plum tomatoes. Bring to the boil and simmer for about 20 minutes to concentrate the sauce. We can now take the vegetables out of the oven. Courgettes, I turned them after half an hour. Aubergines, which I've also turned. So we can now combine them together in the pot. I love the way the vegetables have kept their color for the ratatouille. Combine well with the tomato and onion mix. I love serving ratatouille in a bowl with a dollop of sour cream. Chicken breasts are a winner in our house. Skinned and deboned chicken breasts. What I do is butterfly them. With lemon juice and olive oil and a seasoned spice of my choice. And then I leave that for a couple of hours in the fridge and pop it on the grill. You could also fry it in a pan with olive oil on the stovetop. The third dish is jambalaya, which is a meal in itself and can be done many ways. If you're vegetarian, leave out the sausage, but I like to put in these spicy sausages, or you can use chorizo, and then I just chop up onions, garlic, celery, peppers. I realize how many peppers I use in my cooking, which I love. And then I use this Ben's Spanish rice, which has a little bit of paprika and spices in it. I use garlic, ginger, chili. Chop 2 celery stalks. Slice a spicy sausage of your choice. Slice mushrooms, chopped spinach and fresh basil without the stalks. Jambalaya is a very versatile dish. It's something you can put vegetables into, or spicy sausages like I'm using. You can even add some shrimp or prawns, and it's basically a meal in itself. Heat fresh ginger, garlic and chili in 2 tablespoons olive oil. Brown the sliced sausage. Cover with a lid. Add the chopped celery and sliced mushrooms. Stir fry the vegetables. I will then add about a cup of Ben's Spanish rice and 2 cups of water. Bring it to the boil, and then once it's boiling rapidly, switch off the heat, leave the lid on, and it takes about 25 minutes to cook. Add a cup of Spanish rice and mix with the vegetables. Cover with 2 cups of warm water. stir. I'm adding 2 cups of chopped spinach, and you can also add fresh basil. Bring to the boil. Cover and leave simmering for about 25 minutes. After 10 minutes, the rice will have absorbed a lot of the water, and after 25 minutes it should be cooked but not starchy. This is also delicious eaten cold, and you could take it to work as a nice quick meal, and of course you can serve it with the different proteins. And then finally, 3 ways with lean ground beef. So I have 2 kilograms here. What I will be doing is a third I'll be making into small meatballs, frying them up, and can be popped into salads. It can be served on pastas or rices with a sauce of your choice. And then the other 2/3 I'm going to cook it up, and I'm going to make half of it into a Bolognaise sauce, and the other one I'm going to make into a chili con carne, where I'm going to use the kidney beans and the black bean. And did you know that if you add ginger when you're using beans, it will aid digestion? If you have a cup of beef, you're going to get about 60 grams of protein, and a cup of beans, you'll get about 15 grams of protein. So you're getting a lot more protein with your meat, but if you're combining the beans with the meat, you're going to get a nice, healthy filler. And that will obviously make your mince go a little bit further. If you're enjoying this video, please be sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you. For the small meatballs, place 600 grams of ground beef into a bowl. Crack in 1 egg, season and mix well. Roll into small meatballs. So we're now going to fry up these small meatballs in olive oil and crushed garlic. The spices are in the meatballs already. I fry the meatballs in batches because I want to fry them in single layers so they can brown all over. Try to brown them on all sides by gently moving them around. Remove from the pan and cook the other half the same way. Leave to cool, place in a sealed container in the fridge. When the fond, or the browning in the pan, has cooled, add water to make the stock for your mince later. In a large pot, fry garlic in olive oil. We'll then make half into Bolognaise and half into chili con carne. Season your ground beef. I'm using a steak spice and dried oregano. Try not to overcrowd the pot when browning. Using 2 spoons, break the mince down to get an even browning. Cover and cook further. Add 2 tablespoons tomato paste and combine. In a medium-sized pot, start by browning the chopped onion and green peppers for the chili con carne. Add 1 teaspoon chili flakes, a teaspoon Garam Masala, a heaped tablespoon of fresh ginger, chili and garlic. I've linked my video Is Homemade Better to show you how I make this fresh mix. A teaspoon of paprika and ground cinnamon. Here we have the beef, which we're going to divide half into the chili con carne and leave half for the Bolognaise. I'm putting a cup of beef stock into each pot. Add a can of black beans and a can of red kidney beans with the aquafaba. Add a can of tomatoes and a can of water into the Bolognaise sauce. Stir well, cover, bring to the boil, reduce the heat and simmer both the chili con carne and the Bolognaise for about 2 hours. Chili con carne is delicious served with grated cheese, avocado, sour cream, and a squeeze of lime. You can also add fresh basil. My name is Lindy, and thank you for watching my channel. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you have any comments, I'd love to hear from you. Take care and bye.